Right, so there's been something kind of going on recently in the news, and I seen a pretty prominent lefty YouTuber who was talking about this the other day, and I wanted to make a video about it. Now I have this tweet pulled up from Mike Cernovich here, and I think it's a pretty good tweet, so I'll read it and then I'll talk a little bit about this topic. He goes on to say, let's cut off federal funding for every college and university until the lockdown ends and see how quickly expert opinion changes. Now, again, this is the problem that is, I mean, in Canada too, obviously Mike Cernovich is an American, but it's a pretty similar thing too, that you have these people, number one, a lot of them aren't even experts. Like, I mean, our health minister doesn't even have a medical background. So again, a lot of these people aren't experts. They don't have a lot of experience. I mean, Justin Trudeau, prior to becoming prime minister, hadn't really worked a honest day in his life. Now, partially that's because he's a trust fund kid. That's not technically his fault, but again, you have these people that really don't have a whole lot of experience in their fields, but yet we're still trusting them. But on the other hand, you get viciously ridiculed if you question people who are, quote unquote experts. And the problem with that I mean, there's a lot of problems, but the big problem is these people are clearly making mistakes that even the average, I mean, at least the average person that's, has their head on straight wouldn't have made. I mean, like take Canada for example. Number one, they bought the World Health Organization's BS. You don't need to close your borders, all this kind of stuff. And you look at Taiwan for example. I mean, they didn't buy into it. You look at Japan. They didn't buy into it. All these countries that clearly knew that China was lying, and yet Canada either knew and didn't care, which just goes to show just how corrupt and bad they are, or they're so incompetent that they just couldn't figure it out. I think it's a little more they know and they didn't really care because these people, no matter if they succeed or fail, they still get to the same place, right? Like the problem with the whole system, how these everything in our society, or most things in society are set up, is that people don't lose out on anything if they fail. I mean, you do in the free market. Again, that's the only place where you lose, which is why the left, one of the many reasons why the left hates the free market so much is that it's actually fair. I mean, it's actually fair, not this whole, you know, you get paid no matter whether you work or not, whether you succeed or not BS. No, the people who do good should get paid, should get raises. People who don't shouldn't. And by doing that, it's best for society in the end because then people learn you learn a hard life lesson, you try over again. It's just it's so annoying. It's so annoying. And this is the problem too, that like I say, these people, they get paid no matter whether they produce value or not. And that's the, like I say, the problem with the left compared to the right is that people on the left, they want the free lunch, like right on down from the typical everyday voter to the politicians. And I mean, right-wing politicians are like this in a lot of ways too, but like I always mention, the left receives hardly any criticism, from the media, from schools, from universities. So that's why I always harp on the left. So, like I said, they don't receive any negative repercussions when they screw up. And if anything, they get more because this is the leftist trope that if they screw something up, it must mean that they didn't go far enough. This is the thing with socialism too. It's always, oh, that wasn't real socialism. We didn't go far enough, which is why socialism usually ends up with communism. I mean, look at throughout history. It usually ends up with communism because it was never enough. It's never, again, people seem to have, I mean, most people these days have this inability to admit when they're wrong. And the more they're invested in something, the less likely they are, right? Like if it's, some BS argument with your cousin at a family gathering, yeah, you admit you're wrong. But if you literally have insane amounts of time and money invested, you're not going to want to admit you're wrong. And that's the big problem. And that's why the free market is such a good thing, because not admitting you're wrong means you're going to lose out on a lot of money. In the statist leftist model, if anything, you gain to be wrong. And it's such a backwards way of running things that, again, terrible way of running society, terrible way of running society. And I think, again, we're going to look back at history too. I mean, and be like, can you believe how blindly people trusted authority? I think Blind trust in authority is one of the worst things in society nowadays. You have these people that they tell you blatant lies, like they're blatantly. I mean, you look. I mean, just like I say, like I always mention, take CNN, take ABC, take some of these big mainstream media outlets. You have James O'Keefe, Project Veritas, having producers at these places, even Facebook and YouTube, literally admitting on camera that they're biased, literally admitting on camera that they're biased, and yet you still have a very large percent of the population that still likes to pretend that they're neutral. Again, if I was asking you, okay, let's say what would be the a list of things just hypothetically that would be the most likely to get you to change your opinion on the topic. Number one in my you'd have to think would be literally the people admitting it themselves. That would have to be number one, and that's what these people are doing. And it's still it doesn't get these people to change their minds, and that's just where we're at in society nowadays. Um, so, anyways, bringing it full circle here, these people's opinion, these quote unquote experts' opinion, I don't care about their opinion until they face negative repercussions for being wrong. Because what negative repercussions does Tam receive for being completely wrong about pretty much everything the entire way? Did she lose her job? Did she get a pay cut? No. If anything, she probably got a pay raise. If anything, she'll probably be more likely to get a high-paying job in the future because she was, really prominent in Canada right now during this whole pandemic thing. So again, it's completely backwards. If anything, again, these people, if anything, they should be liable for some of this stuff because if Canada would have closed their borders, if Canada would have encouraged people to wear masks, if Canada would have did these kind of things, we wouldn't have been hit as hard. And no, you can't argue that. I don't care who it is. The states should have closed their borders earlier. The states should have encouraged people to wear masks too. But Canada was even worse on both of those issues. We shouldn't have trusted the World Health Organization too. Anybody who still trusts the World Health Organization at this point has no critical thinking skills whatsoever. None whatsoever. I mean, the leader's a communist, clearly. I don't even think he's a communist sympathizer. I think he literally is a communist. I mean, he praised Robert Mugabe. He was part of the Ethiopian communist movement. Again, how more blatantly obvious do they have to make it? Like, again, do they have to put it up on their website? We're communists for people to finally admit it? Like, what is it going to take? So, anyways, I wanted to make a video about this because blind trust in authority is something I'm really starting to notice. And you see all these, I mean, a lot of people are questioning it, rightfully so. But the ability to question authority is something fundamental, number one, to free speech, and number one, fundamental to a functioning society. Because what's the point of having free speech if you can just blindly trust authority? I mean, what's the point? Doesn't make any sense. So anyway, I just wanted to make a video about this because it's an important thing that's going on right now. Again, people have to question authority. I don't care who's in power, right, left. It doesn't matter how prominent of an expert they are. They can be the world's foremost leading expert on a topic. You need to question them. Now, you don't question them in a you know a-hole kind of way, and I think you only question them when there's reason to question them. But I mean, in Canada, there's clearly reason to question the federal government right now. Clearly, even the states to a degree. So again, that stuff needs to be done. So anyway, I'm going to leave it there. If you like the video, make sure to hit that like and subscribe. Check out my PayPal email address. I got linked in the description. Again, appreciate any donations, but I mean, if you haven't, just at the very least, just hit that like and subscribe. And last thing, as always, check out my BitChute channel. Again, YouTube's going to ban or shadow ban me at some point, so check that out. If YouTube bans me, I'll be still making videos over there. So anyway,